change, Mo, the time change happened last time. So last week.
Right. Right. Okay. So I'm guessing some other people will join us as we progress.
But good morning, Ugo. It's so nice to have you here. Thank you.
Good morning. And it's a beautiful day here. It's sunny, and it's also the last session we are having on Power BI to complete our modules. So yeah.
I tell you this, we made it, Ugo. We made it.
Yay. It's surreal. I actually thought some people were going to drop off on the way, but it's amazing, the resilience and everything. It's just amazing. Okay, so today we're going to just finish up with module 11, module 12, and module 13. And each of these modules they're not really much to cover. They're not really large. So what we're just going to do, we're just going to breeze through them, and we're done. I hope we could do this. We can do this within an hour. I think, yeah, sure, we can. Okay, so the first is module 11, and module 11 has to do with managing Power BI spaces. So basically what Power BI spaces are the workspaces that everyone is supposed to fall into when they are created on a Power BI tenant. So whenever you log into your Power BI service on powerbi.com, you just notice this tab here, Workspaces. And when you click on it, you would see all the workspaces that have been created by you or by your organization, depending on how you guys use it in your organization. And if you want to still explore, as long as you have a pro license or a premium license, you could just create a workspace. So when you want to create, yes, please go ahead.
I thought I saw, could you go back to that screen?
Okay, this one.
You have that, okay. So I see it looks like there's FIMC and it looks like a diamond icon on there. What does that mean?
Right. It's showing that I opened that workspace with a premium,
Okay.
Yeah. So I actually have a pro license, but in order to be able to access the machine learning features and all of that, I had to upgrade to premium just for a trial basis. And because I don't get to use it often, I do not subscribe to premium. I just have a pro.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So when if you want to create a workspace, just click on this create workspace, and what it does is it brings out the dialog for you. So you could name this workspace anything you want to name it. And I'm just going to name this toy workspace. So because I'm going to delete this shortly. So toy workspace. And if I want to put like an image, a logo or something, I could just upload that here. And I could describe the workspace. But I could also come here and click advanced. And then it's going to bring up some other stuff for me. So if I want to add some, some other people in this workspace right now, I probably will just do this and enter the users that I want them to have this workspace. And these are the people who this workspace is for. But here, I'm just going to put admin because, I'm the admin. So right now, this is just me. And if I want to hook this up to OneDrive, I could do that. But I don't want to do that right now because I don't have a OneDrive for business account. So what I'm going to do here, it's asking me for what license mode. I have a pro license. I also have a premium license, which I'm trying out for 60 days and I have just 31 days left on the premium license. So I'm just going to click on this premium per user because it allows us to do a lot of stuff on the workspace. And here is asking for default formats, but hey, it's not going along because I don't have a higher right. There are still some higher level rights in Power BI apart from premium per user. There's a premium capacity which operates on an enterprise level. All right, so that's the higher one, and because it's an enterprise level capacity, it allows large data set storage formats. But right now, because this is premium per user, I am not just allowed to use this. So I could also just activate this to allow us create apps. Apps are the way you share your Power BI dashboards or reports between the users that you're going to have in your workspace. And then I could also say I want to allow the contributors to update this the app for this workspace. So I'm just going to click on save. And when I do this, it's going to create that workspace for me. So this my toy workspace, but it's blank and there's nothing in here. So and when you look at this, you would notice that it has that diamond, same diamond, to show that I created it as a premium workspace. All right, per user. I created it with a user account, and everybody in that workspace is supposed to have a premium account to enjoy the full benefits of this. All right, so that's why it's called premium per user. So so that's workspace creation. Now, what I can do is, if I have reports in here, I could, populate them. I could do whatever I want. I could also grant access to people, all right, to the people in my organization. And there are four levels at which I can grant people access. Is that as admin, as member, as a contributor, or as a viewer? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up this sheet, and it contains all the links that are very key for these three modules we're going to cover today. So I'm just going to open this link. I'm just going to copy this link, and I'll open it up here so that I could just explain what those roles are, but it's something you can read up on your own much later. So what each of these roles can do is explained in this chart. So the admin is like the super user. It can do practically everything. But then members cannot update or delete the workspace, and they cannot remove people or add people. They cannot, do all of this that are not checked. So those are the things that members cannot do. Contributors cannot do practically almost half of the tasks that are available on Power BI service. And members, the last one is just viewer. That's actually like the list of the rights. So I'm going to make this sheet that I'm looking at right now available in a folder so that everyone can just look at it and get to just read through them anytime, so that's it. I'm just going to minimize this. So when I'm creating the users in this organization, this our toy workspace, Power BI demands that we use their email addresses because that's how they are registered under the Active Directory, Microsoft Office 365 Active Directory. So we are supposed to create them by their email addresses and then assign the rights to them, and whether admin, member, contributor, viewer, and yeah. So so that's it for assigning members to workspace. And when members are assigned to workspaces, they have rights depending on what category of user they are assigned as. Okay, so let's look at the next thing that happens in the workspace app creation. So what I'm going to do right now is, if I click on this create an app right now, it's going to ask me for a data set. So, but I don't have any data sets in here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to one of the previously existing workspaces. let me use this one where we had this. Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to make this report available to the other toy workspace. So if you want to just, make reports available from one workspace to another, you could just come to the workspace that you want and select the report or data set or dashboard or whatever it is you want to make available and click on save a copy. So right now, by clicking on this, I have a dialog in front of me, and I'm going to tell Power BI that I want to save this copy in Toy Workspace. All right, so it's going to save this here, and I'm going to have that here. So, but I can't do that for the dashboard because the dashboard is peculiar to just this workspace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Toy Workspace, and when I get to Toy Workspace, now I'm going to see that the reports is available, and now I'm going to create a new dashboard from this report. So I'm just going to click on this so that it can open up in the Power BI Air View online. So I'm just going to click on this button and say I want to pin it to a dashboard. But hey, there's no dashboard existing. So let me just create one. I'm just going to call this Toy Workspace Dashboard. All right. And I'm going to pin that to the dashboard. So it's telling me it's pinned. And I'm going to pin this one. Pin to Toy Workspace Dashboard. Yeah. Okay, so it's pinned. Then same for this one. I'm just going to pin it to the Toy Workspace Dashboard. Okay, and I'm also going to just pin this report to the dashboard. All right, so we're good. I could now go back to my Toy Workspace, and I'll see this dashboard visible here. All right, so we're cool. So the next thing I can do right now is if I go back to this Toy Workspace and I want to share this report to everyone in my organization. One of the ways Power BI says you can share the reports is as an app, but an app is just nothing. It's just a big name. Actually, an app is just a collection of artifacts. And when we say Power BI artifacts, we talk about we mean reports, data sets, data flows, practically everything that exists in this space. So if you look at, let me go to this, my workspaces, everything you see here are the artifacts that are in this workspace. So we have a dashboard, we have a report, we have a data set, we have some data sets too, but they were created with PowerShell. All right, so all of these are what we call Power BI artifacts. And when we go to a workspace, you'll see all the artifacts, and you can make all the artifacts available in an app. So I'm just going to minimize this screen. It's going to look a bit tiny, but that's the only way I can show the whole screen. So you'll see that on the side, there is a toggle button that says, do I want to include this in the app? So if I had 30 artifacts here, it's going to ask me for all the 30 of them, saying, do I want to include them in the app I want to create? Because I mean, those apps are just basically how we get to share all the artifacts that we want to share. So I could decide, okay, you know what, I don't want to share the data sets. I just want everybody to be able to view the dashboard or maybe any other stuff that I've created. All right. So if I say no to this, then when I create an app, it's not going to appear. But if I leave it at yes, and then I click on this create app, it's going to appear in the app when I build it. So here I'm just going to call this Toy Workspace app. And probably I'm just going to say all artifacts in Toy Workspace. And if there is any problem where users can go look for support, but I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to put anything there. And if I want to put a logo, I want to put a theme and all that, I could do all that, but I'm just going to leave it at the default blue. So the next is navigation. And this is how it's going to look in the app. It's just showing me if I don't like this navigation theme, I could change it. All right. So, but I'm just going to leave it like this because I think there is nothing wrong with this. And then controls. Do I want everyone that views the app to be able to download the report? If I think so, fine, I could leave this. If not, I would select it and decide to give everyone the rights based on what I want them to do. All right. So I'm just going to leave it at this, and it's going to select all the rights. Then if I have parameters, which we're going to look at shortly, we're going to look at how to create parameters. Then they would show up here. But okay, so yeah, authentication, I've not set up any authentication. And then access to, I have not set up anybody in the organization. So, but I'm just going to use this to say, let it apply to everyone in the entire organization. Let them be able to see it. Okay, so I think I'm good right now. I'm just going to click on create app, and it's going to create my app for me based on the artifacts that I've selected. So once, okay, so I thought I selected the, let me just go back. Where is my workspace? Toy workspace. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. The data sets is not there. Okay, let me share the data set from Workspace. All right, so I'm just going to share the data set from where that stuff was derived. Yeah, that's this one. So where you, let me see, save a copy. Oh boy. Okay, I'll just move this a bit so I can see. Just need to move this. Yep. Okay. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Okay. Okay, so the save option is not appearing here, and I don't know why. But maybe what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share the whole data set from, let me just go back to that toy workspace. Where is that toy workspace? Okay, so I'm just going to pick a data set from Power BI. Okay, let me just share the report straight up from just delete this, and I'll share the report straight up from Power BI. So let me just publish it from here to the toy workspace. And okay, so let me just share it from here, and we'll be fine. Okay, so yeah, success, got it. And here, so it should refresh right now. Let's reload it. Okay, so should appear here right now. Okay, cool. Yeah, so now I have my data set, I have my report. Then I can decide to redo the dashboards that I just did. So let me just redo the dashboard. I'm gonna call this toy data sets dashboard, and I'm going to create it here. Okay, so create, and I'm just going to go back to my toy workspace, and I'm going to open this, open the report, and I'm going to pin I'm going to pin 2 visuals right now instead of the 4 I did earlier, so that I could just get this over and done with. So I'm going to pin this one to this toy dataset dashboard, and I'm going to pin this other one too. Okay, so we're good. So I'm going to go back to my toy workspace right now, and yeah, I'm going to create app, right? So, and everything is fine. So I'm going to say create app and let's, okay, so please be successful this time. Okay, complete all the fields before publishing. Select, yep, okay. Let's try again on contact supports. Okay, so I don't know why this is happening, but I just used this a couple of moments ago. All right, let me just, okay, let me go back to my workspace and check my settings. And let me see if there's, everything is fine. So no problems here. So I don't know why it's not allowing me to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to, I'm going to do it again, create app, and I'm going to see why it's giving me that error. And there was a problem. Okay. Okay, so here we are. So I don't know what this is, but I'll have to probably will have to send a mail to support. But I just created an app some minutes before this. So but let me see if I could create an app in some other workspace. So let me just use this one. Okay, include an app. Let me see. Okay, so this, yeah, because I had created the app earlier. When I say update app, it just updates. So I just created an integrated MLAI app just the same way I did this, and it published successfully. So I don't know what's happening to the toy datasets app. I'm going to look at it much later. So this is what the app looks like when you publish it. And yeah, so this is what it looks like. I just used the name of integrated MLAI. This was the stuff we did last week, AutoML. And these are some of the reports in the app. This is the dashboard. Again, from the same way we did the whole dashboard thing, just pinning them to from the reports. And then this are the reports, the raw Power BI files, just the way they were imported from Power BI desktop into Power BI service. And it's 3 pages as we have it here. As you can see, the 3 pages are here. You know, same way it was imported. So that's how those apps work, and you get to use them to share your artifacts across your organization. Please remember you can stop me at any time if there's something I'm doing that is not very clear. Okay. So another thing that we do when managing data sets is maybe I should increase this right now. One of the things we also do is it's called deployment pipelines. Now, so far what we have done is that whenever we want to run our analytics, we just go to Power BI desktop, import some data sets, and just get to play with them and stuff like that, and we are fine. But It's usually not like that in regimented organizations. There's usually like processes, regiments, that you have to, take to be able to deploy. So these deployment pipelines just help you ensure that you test your Power BI, all the stuff you want to, all those beautiful stuff you want to do first in a test environment before you deploy it to production. And that's what happens here. So if we're going to create a pipeline, we click on create a pipeline, it begins with this step, which is to create like a test area, all right? And then you assign your workspace, and then you try to test your content. So you try to test all the stuff that you're going to upload and see how they run. So when they run without any issues, then you now move them to production, still in this step. From there, all right, you deploy to your organization. So this is actually like the recommended way when you're deploying across a large organization, because sometimes things do not appear the way you want them to appear. Sometimes there might be surprises like what just happened to us right now. There might be errors and all that. So you don't want all of this happening in a production environment. For example, if we were already live in our organization, I really don't want somebody to try to generate a report and then or an app and get this error message that we just got right now. So all of those would have been taken care of at this deployment pipeline stage, where I get to test all of that first before I share it with the whole organization. So that's how deployment pipelines work. It's not really anything serious. It's just a more organized way of going about your creation of your apps and managing your workspace. So that's what happens in deployment pipelines. And the last thing that you want to do when you're managing your data sets or you're managing your workspace is when you pick any workspace, sometimes you want to check how that thing has been used, that artifact that you're looking at. So when you use this view metrics, this usage metrics, what it does is it just tells you how these artifacts that you're looking at have been used. Has it been distributed? Who distributed it? Who viewed it today? Who did what? It just shows you everything in a dashboard. All right, so that's what this stuff does. And you get to see that in every artifact in your Power BI that like anyone, just when you click on this ellipsis here, you'll see view usage metrics. Whatever artifact you have in your workspace, you can always view the metrics in the dashboard. It just gets to tell you who used what and how that artifact has been used in your organization. Okay, so that's basically it for module 11. So we are heading for module 12 right now. And module 12 has to do with managing data sets. We just finished how to manage workspaces. That's module 11. So module 12 is how to manage data sets. Now, let me take you back to these data sets that we have here. All right. We created this in module 5, and it's just a regular sales transaction. So you can always refer to it in our previous videos on YouTube. Okay, so one of the things that we have not done so far is how to introduce some form of what if analysis or parameters in this report. Now, so there are two kinds of parameters that we are going to introduce, and the parameters have to, okay, let's do the first one, which is the what if parameters. So I'll come to this modeling tab, and you'll see this new parameter, just what if. So what if parameters, if you see the description there, they let you see how your data behaves under different conditions. So add them to a report as slicers or reference them in other DAX expressions. And that's exactly what we want to do right now. So we want to be able to say, okay, so how would sales behave the total sales, how would it behave if maybe there is a 10% increase or 20% increase or 50% increase? What these parameters do is that they prevent you from writing repetitive code. So if I wanted to write a DAX that would tell me what these things do under different circumstances, maybe 10% growth or 50% growth, I will have to write a lot of DAX. But what a parameter does is it just takes all the stress of writing the DAX for you by creating a table of values. Let me show you what I mean. So when I click on that new parameter, this comes out and asks me what I want to do. So I'm just going to call this sales growth because I want to check what sales, or let me call this turnover growth since we have been using turnover, right? Or maybe even sales. So I want to check what sales would look like at each stages in the parameter. And because I'm looking at sales growth, we're talking about percentages. So I am going to use, sadly, we don't have the option of percentages here. So I'm just going to use the option of decimals, all right? So the minimum, I'm going to leave it at 0, okay? And then the maximum, I'm going to leave it at 1, all right? To represent 0 to 100%. And I would ask Power BI to increment this by 0.1, maybe 10%. This is just to allow me slide the slicer that I'm going to add. So it's not really anything serious, all right? And then what would be the default when, what would be the position that slicer would always be when you start it? So I want the default to be 0. Okay, so I'm just going to click OK. And Power BI is going to add a slicer to this report. Now, you'll notice that a lot of things are going to happen when this slicer is added. First, there is this thing called sales growth that has been added here. You'll also notice that it created 2 things for me, a table and a measure. If I come here right now and I say show as table, you would notice that Power BI shows me the table of values. Remember, I told Power BI to increment these things for me by 10. All right, so just increment it for me in rates of 10, so that when I slide from here, you'll notice it's going from 0.1 to 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and all that. So that's the first thing that Power BI does. It creates a table, then it creates a measure. All right. So this measure, it calls it sales growth value. So let me now implement this the slicer. Let me do some report that would implement the slicer. So I'm going to create a measure right now. Remember, right now, this slicer's measure is not tied to anything. So that's why it's not changing the values. So I'm going to create a DAX measure here in this sales table. I'm just going to call it sales growth simulation. So let me create a new measure and call the new measure, second, I'll call the new measure sales growth simulation. Okay, so it's going to be the total revenue or total sales income, if you like, or call this total sales income. All right, multiplied by, now if we just use this figure here, we're going to get the wrong value. We're just going to get only the growth and not the total value. All right, so we're going to have this total sales income again, but this time we're going to put inside the brackets, and then we're going to multiply it by this measure that was just created for us, where this slicer is attached to, and it's called sales growth. So I'm just going to put sales growth, and yep, so this is it. So when I click on enter, then I bring this visual. I'm just going to put a card visual here. Okay, so let me just minimize this so that it doesn't take up a lot of space. And I'm just going to move this here. So I'm going to move this measure that I just created right now, sales growth simulation, into this field so that it can populate the card for me. And so it's telling me that sales, oh, I see why it's 34.8 trillion. Let me get that measure right now. Okay, so this is actually supposed to be plus, not times. All right, so what it's saying is this. What it's saying is this: when, yeah, just going to move this a bit. Okay, so when you have 60% sales growth, this total sales income will have here at 7.6 will become 12.1. What if we keep increasing it? It's changing. It keeps changing. And if we bring it back to 0, as an assuming there is no sales growth at all, it gives us the same value that we have here. So that's basically how we use a parameter. All right. There are some other kinds of parameters that you can apply, but you get to do that in Power Query. So let's just say if I wanted to do that here, I could just say transform data. And remember, whenever you want to go back to Power Query, you click on that transform data and it takes you back to your Power Query. And yeah, so okay, so just refresh this preview. And yeah, so here I could create a new parameter if I want. So what this parameter does is that it helps you, for example, I can decide to create a parameter and call it United States. All right. So if I create that parameter for just this United States, when I push this report into Power BI, let me just click on the new parameter. All right. When I push this report into Power BI, what will happen is that the only reports that get pushed into Power BI are going to be things from United States. Same for if I put the parameter to be Europe, all right, or I create two parameters, Europe and United States, all right. So those are the two kinds of parameters you get to create in Power BI. You create some in Power Query to determine what makes it to your final report, or you use this what if parameters to create like simulations. Okay, so so far I try to check the chats, but I don't see any questions, so I'm just going to assume that we are all safe and everyone is fine and that there's no trouble. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at are refreshes, because sometimes you get to do a lot of work and you might not always be able to click on refresh and publish and all of that. So what happens is that being a premium user or a pro user in Power BI, in your Power BI service, for each of the data artifacts or the data sets that you work with, you could, schedule refresh, all right, for your workspace. So what I'm going to do, let me just go home and probably, okay, let me see. Now, if you want to schedule refresh, you need to go through a gateway. And there are two kinds of gateways in Power BI. There are personal gateways, and then there are organizational gateways. All right, I'm going to just copy these. Where is that? Gateways. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this link and put that here to just show the differences between personal gateways and organizational gateways. So the difference between personal gateways, this is for the personal gateway and this for organizational gateway, is that for personal gateway, when you create a personal gateway, it supports only Power BI. But if your organization creates the gateway, it can support all other Microsoft services that come, out of the box with your Microsoft subscription, right? Then it runs according to as it's configured by the users who configured the organizational gateway. But for this one, it just runs the way you, the user, schedule it on your gateway while you're setting up. All right. And for an organizational gateway, only an admin can set that up. But here, you can set up, not just the admin. Okay, so yeah, practically everything you need to know is contained in this place. All right. So because it has a lot of installation, which we will not have patience for in class, you can just follow the steps and try to see what where it leads you to, but it's not something difficult. So just click on this, you can click on download your data gateway. You choose the one you want to download. Then by the time you have downloaded it, you come and set it up, all right? And then you feed in all the credentials that you need to feed in before you now begin to use it. So as soon as your gateways are configured, then you can now schedule refresh in any of the artifacts that you're working with. So let me open this one. Let me just go to my workspace here and open this. Okay, so I could now, let's see, it's not. Okay, so okay, I think the option is it's not showing here because I have not set up my gateways. So there's supposed to be an option for refresh. So you can see all of these are showing not applicable because I have not set up my gateway. So when I set up my gateway, I'm going to have that refresh option come up. All right. Okay, let me see. I think there should be something in this data flows. Let me just check. Okay, no, not my workspace. Let me get to FIMC and see if okay, sets data flows. I know the option is not still showing because I did not set up my artifacts. So yeah, this one is just all the refreshes that I did while I was building the model, but they were instant refreshes. Yeah, that's why it was on demand. They were not scheduled refreshes. So I couldn't schedule refresh. You can only schedule refresh when you have set up your gateway. Okay, so that's for schedule refresh. And another type of refresh that you can use is called incremental refresh. But incremental refresh again is only used for when basically SQL databases. So if your organization has hooked up if your data sets or your artifacts are coming from a SQL database, you can schedule an incremental refresh because SQL Power Query and SQL, they work together for the purposes of query folding. I explained the concept of query folding when we were starting. I think that was module 3 or something. So any database that allows Power Query fold back the queries it's creating into the native query of that database language, whether it's SQL or any of all these databases that Power Query works well with, then you can set an incremental refresh in those databases. Okay, so I think that's about it for module 12. Well, do we really need to talk about endorsements? Do we? I don't think so. But basically, if you look at, let me just go back. If you look at this, you'll see endorsements, no. Okay, endorsements are just like extra, so just let people know, okay, this data is secure, and so that it's just some other stuff that really it's not necessary, but it's just for extra comfort, I think, some people. All right, so but you could always get that here under your settings. So if you just go to data sets, and you would see the option to endorse. Let me see. Okay, so settings, data sets. Let's see. There should be an option for endorsements. Okay, yeah, this is it, endorsement and discovery. So here you would look at it, said help co-workers find quality content by endorsing this data set, making it discoverable. So you could either endorse it as a promoted data set or certified. All right. So when you do that, when you promote a data set, what it does is it also makes it discoverable. It allows users that did not have access to it just discover that, hey, maybe in the search or something, just discover that this data set is available, and then they make a request to you to enable them access this data. So it can come in handy when maybe management is trying to look through the artifacts and probably just stumble on something. So you probably want to promote those data sets that might help enhance their decision making. So that's just what this does. It's nothing serious. All right. But for if you're a small organization, practically management knows everything that you have, all the artifacts that you have in your Power BI. I mean, so it's not really something very serious that it only happens in big organizations where you might have some people who do not know what they have in the records. Okay, so that is it for module 11. And we will, sorry, for module 12, and we'll go to module 13 right now, which is the final module. And module 13 is basically about role level security. And what does this do? It's just very simple. Okay, so if you look at this data set that we were working with, you'll notice that we have sales reps who are attached to various branches. All right. So each of these people obviously would have their user email addresses created in our Power BI tenants, and they will want to view reports. At least we want them to be able to view their performance reports. But you might want it to be that when Cameron logs in, that she only sees the report of just Bristol, all right? Since that's her domicile branch. Same for Natasha. And when Mike logs in, he should just see for New Hampshire. And when Sylvester logs in, he should just see for Manchester. You don't want them to be able to see what other branches are doing. You just want them to see only what pertains to them, all right? So when you want to do that, all you need to do is to create row level security. That's row level security. So how to do that? Very straightforward. Under the home tab, when you come to the table view, you would see this manage rows. All right. So you could see this manage rows. But if you're on a report view or something, you'll see that, I think you should see that under modeling views. Yeah, manage rows under modeling. So, but let me go back to table views. So you see it as manage row here. Now I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to delete all the rows that I have created before. So I'm just going to delete all of them. Yes, delete, 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 and delete. All right. So there are two ways I can create this row level security. I could use the static method or the dynamic method, and I'm going to display the two of them. The static method, I would create the row and I would, hard code the role filter into this part of the table where you have this DAX expression. But for the dynamic method, I would not hard code that. I would just use a DAX function that evaluates whether the person that is trying to log in has that particular credential. If yes, go on. If no, you bounce the person. All right. So I'm going to create the first one. Remember, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches. So I'm just going to create for the 5 branches here. So let me just rename this one. So the first one is Bristol. So, and the persons that can see for Bristol are people, that's sales reps, all right? Sales reps who their branch IDs are equal to Bristol. So what I want to do is, I want it to be that only sales reps whose branches are Bristol can view the transactions that happen here. Every other sales rep should not be able to view it. Okay, so this is the DAX expression I'm going to use. Sales rep branch equals to Bristol. All right, so I'm just going to create another one for New Hampshire. So and for New Hampshire, the sales rep should be New Hampshire. And I'm going to create a new one for Manchester. And for Manchester, the sales rep should be Manchester here. That's the branch. And I'm going to create another one for London. And add here. Sales rep branch is London. And I'm going to create one more for Lancaster, right? And the sales rep branch is going to be equals Lancaster, right? So we're good. So I'm now going to save this, all right? So when I save this, it saves all the reports. So if I want to check and be sure that I've done the right thing, what I'm going to do right now is I'm now going to come to my report view, and you would see under modeling, the modeling tab, you would see view as. So I want to check right now if the report does what it wants to. So I want to check Bristol. All right. So I'm going to say view as Bristol. I'm going to say okay. So let's see if it filters as Bristol. Okay, great. So right now you can see everything is Bristol, and you will notice that what we have here is now gelling with this because this is the total sales for Bristol alone. That was a DAX function we wrote. All right. So that's what we have here. And let's view as maybe some other branch. Okay, London. I'm gonna move this one. Say okay. So let's see what happens. Right. So you notice now that London is blank because the DAX function was not supposed to, it filtered just for Bristol. All right. So London cannot see what's happening right now in any other place apart from London. So all that anybody whose branch ID is showing London, all that they would see is this what you have on screen. So let me just stop viewing and then I'm going to go to the home tab and I'm going to now publish this to my data sets, right? So let me go back to Power BI and delete, go back to my workspaces and I'll delete all the data in this toy workspace. Just going to delete this, delete, and delete. Okay. So I'm going to republish this to the toy workspace right now. And once it's done publishing, then we can go confirm. Okay, great. So got it. So it's done. So now, if I want to just refresh, reload this. If I want to now finalize the row level security, remember that we have to still tell Power BI that, hey, yeah, though this guy's branch is in London, but look at his credential because Power BI allows people to log in only by their email addresses. So the email address they log in with is what is going to be the driver. And if you look at the data sets here, you'll see that all their email addresses, their organizational email addresses have been captured. And, so we would go to Power BI right now. And I'm going to zoom this out a bit. Sorry, it's going to be a bit tiny right now, but that's the only way I can get what I want to get. So when you look at this, you go to, let me see, data sets. All right, that's the data sets from that from that Power BI sheet we just published right now. Then you click on security. And when you do that, you'll see all the security that we just created. Okay. So, but you'll notice that they all have 000, which means we've not registered any members in there. So we're going to now start picking their email addresses one by one. And like for this is London. So I'm just going to go to London and I'm going to enter this person's email address for London and I'm going to add. But why it's not going to allow me add right now is that remember when we're creating this toy workspace, we did not add anyone to the data set, to the workspace. So it's not going to allow me add. I have to go back to the workspace and add all of them one after the other. And, we really do not have time to do that. But if I had added all of this, I'll just click on add and this person will go in. I'll bring the second London. I'll click on add and the second London would go in. All right. So yeah. So it's telling me it can't take it in because one or more email addresses are outside my organization. Yeah. So I did not put them in the organization. So that's why we have that error there. So once we just finish adding them, anytime Cameron logs in, the only reports that she'll be able to view in this workspace from all the artifacts we have, all the dashboards, everything, the only thing she can view are things that are for London. The only thing that Natasha can also view would be things for London. Same for Sylvester, can only view for Manchester and all of that. So that's how you apply row level security in a static way. For the dynamic way, it's different. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come here and I'm going to delete all the rows. So manage, and I'm going to delete, 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 delete this one too, and delete this one too. Okay, so if I want to do the dynamic row level security, all I just want to do is I'm going to create a new row, but this time I'm not going to name it anything. I'm just probably going to call it sales. Let me just use caps, sales rep branch selector, right? So that's also what I'm going to call it. And I am going to add where the sales rep email address, which is the email address, is this DAX function user principal ID, right? Yeah, I think that's user principal ID. So when I run this, and I save it, whenever I try to whenever anybody tries to log in right now, the only thing Power BI is just going to check is that their email address is the principal ID of the person who is logging in, and it automatically just checks against the criteria we have set, you know, and then let them see what they're going to see. All right, so that's the dynamic row level security. Again, it's not going to work right now because we have not set up everybody according to their tenants in their organization, because if we had set them up, we also have set them up according to their branches, you know, so that way Power BI automatically knows, okay, when this guy opens, this guy belongs to London branch, just let him see what he's supposed to see in London branch. And there we have it. Those are the two ways to do row level security. So with that, we have come to the end of the module. Sorry, is it user principal ID or user principal name? I'm just trying to confirm. Let me just check the DAX function again. Okay, yeah, user principal name. Sorry, not ID. So it's user principal name. Yep. Okay, so that's the DAX function. I'm just going to click on save and yep. Okay, so any questions so far? Is there anything we need to talk about? Because
No, you covered this pretty well, I think.
right. Thank you. Okay, so is anyone here going to write the exam in December?
Not I. I still need to do more studying here. I think the classes have been really great, Ugo, and I still
Yeah.
need to get myself more. There's a lot here. There's a lot. So
Yes, there
I
is
still need to do more studying.
You know, the funny thing about Microsoft Power BI is I think it wasn't even designed to be finished in a class, because if you look at let me just Power Query under the docs, that's Microsoft Docs, the language reference. If you look at this language reference and you try to download it in PDF, just check. Let's see how many pages this comes to. You see 1022, and those are just the M functions that you need to learn. Right? And well, the beautiful part of it is that you really don't need to know all of them. So you just need to know the ones that just help you do your day-to-day work. And that's the thing about each of these. That's the thing about this. Oh yeah. So, and this is just M. Now let's go to DAX reference.
Ugo,
Yes,
you've taken the exam, right?
yes, I have.
Okay. So did you have to, well, first of all, is it open book or no?
No, it's not open book.
Okay. So the second question is, can you take it from home or do you have to go to a facility?
You can take it from home. You can also take it from a Pearson facility, yeah, in any
Okay.
any city where you are.
Okay.
Right. So this is the DAX function reference for all the DAX functions, and now they said they're going to disable this ability to download PDF from January 3rd. So I'm just going to download all the PDFs before they change their minds. And this is DAX function reference, 705 pages. So you just get to learn all the DAX functions, all the examples, all the, personally, I still, once in a while, what I just do is I just pick a DAX function and I just try it out. Okay, so I think I've used this. Then I pick another one, I try it out. I pick another one, I try it out. So that's how I just keep, getting familiar with some of these DAX functions. But if you want to just say you want to learn it at a go, nah. So, but basically, what you're going to be examined on, because I wrote the exam 4 or 5 times. Yeah, I know 4 times. Then I wrote the previous exam once. That's making 5. So there was another Power BI exam that was retired in December 2021. I took that and I passed it. Then overconfidence, I was just overconfident. But because that exam was retired, I thought, okay, you know what, it's the same body of knowledge, and so I wrote and I failed. So yeah, so this new one is what they were examining you on most times they're not everyday functions. Because they're not this what is that? The functions you're going to be examining mostly are filter functions, date and time functions, and parent and child functions. So these three, if you're going to do DAX in Power BI exams, these are the 3 functions you must get conversant with. Date and time functions, all of this. Then you'll see filter functions, because you need to know how to filter. But Power BI, the whole Power BI concept rests on the ability of the Vectorpack engine to filter a data set. And that's why the filter functions are like the most important functions in Power BI. So, and they're not much. So if you can just get conversant with all of them, then you get conversant with this parent and child functions. For relationship functions, you won't get to see them a lot, because even though they're just, okay, you see these 2. And most times we get to use these relationship functions only when the relationship, if you look at this model, it's only when the relationship model is a mess, where you probably have a table with 2 relationships. Sometimes it's even bad. You have a table with 2 things pointing at the same table, one to many, many to many. It's very funny relationships like that. But if your model is cool, then you really do not need those relationship functions in real life, apart from related and related table, correct? So, but again, they're going to examine you because they will believe that, okay, so what happens if you meet a model that is badly designed? Do you get to know how to use these functions too?